I'm Harrison Graham. Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. It's time for another Mailbag episode where we take your questions, hashtag Bears or Super Chat to get on the show. We Want Jeanty is up first. He says, Vegas has the Bears win total at 8.5. Do you like more or less than that? Well, just to revisit the opponents this year, we don't have the week-by-week schedule yet, but the Bears' home games this year, obviously the three divisional opponents. You got the Cowboys and Giants at home. I do think you drew the two easier NFC East teams at home, so those make those games more winnable. Browns and Steelers, same in the AFC North. I think you got the easier ones at home, which is a give it a take because that means the road games could be tougher. You get the Saints at home as well. Road games, three divisional opponents, Philly, Washington, both tough. Baltimore, Cincy, both tough. 49ers, they're probably going to bounce back. The Raiders as well. 8 home games, 9 road games. On paper, this schedule feels pretty difficult, but last year, on paper, it was pretty easy, and by the end of the season, it ended up playing out that it was the second hardest schedule in the league. Now, some of that was the division was insanely good last year. I still think the division will be tough, but I don't think you're going to have 2 14-win teams and then an 11-win team. I could see like 12-5 winning the division this year. But, yeah, I 8.5, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. If you told me the Bears went 8-9 or 9-8, I could believe it. I could also believe 10-7. I think that's on the board. You're going to have to win some more of these 50-50 games, which the Bears have found themselves on the wrong side of those pretty much throughout the entire Eberflus era. Now you got Ben Johnson, second quarterback going into year 2. If you tighten up some things, maybe those 50-50 games, you win more of those than you lose. What say you? O for over 8.5 wins or U for under 8.5 wins? All right, DC Viper says, if Ersery or Conerly are both on the board at 39, who are you taking to fill left tackle? I would go Conerly over Ersery. I think he's a little more polished. I think he's slightly more athletic. Ersery, you could argue, has a potential bigger ceiling. He's 6'6" versus Conerly, who's like 6'4.5". He's 330 and still pretty athletic. But his technique it still needs some work. I think Conerly, I'll put it this way. Conerly, if you had to play him week 1 this year, I'd feel more comfortable than Ersery week 1 this year. Stefan, and then we can hit a couple of these super chats as well. He says, the Raiders GM's son said he's going to walk out of the house if they don't draft Ashton Jeanty. Yeah, that gave me Joe Shane and his son vibes from last year. For anyone who watched the Giants offseason Hard Knocks, there's a clip in there that said his son tells his dad, just go trade up for Jayden Daniels. Now, it's funny because Daniels ended up being awesome, and that would have been a great move for the Giants, but that also wasn't realistic. The Commanders it was pretty clear we're taking him at 2. I don't put a ton of stock into that. I do think the Raiders are very interested, and if the Bears don't get him at 10, that probably means the Raiders took him at 6. Subscribe to the channel. We got daily Bears content, the latest news, rumors, draft updates, free agency coverage, trade buzz, taking your questions, other segments, mock drafts. We do it all here on Chicago Bears Now. We're closing in on 120,000 subs. Got to get there before draft day. Let's make it happen. Bear Down from H-Town. 3 more weeks until our newest fan gets here. Shout out to you, man. It's a special moment. You're 3 weeks away from newest Bears fan getting here. I'm just under 2 weeks away from a Bears fan turning 2 years old, my son. So born in the same month, so that's exciting. April's a good one. Adam Downing, how many big-time players can teams reasonably pay year to year? Well, it's a complicated question to answer because if you're the Eagles and you have an owner that's willing to spend more cash, you can give bigger signing bonuses up front, which means you can lower the cap hits, especially in the early years. So it really comes down to how much money is ownership willing to pay on an annual basis, because the cap and the cash are different things. The Bengals historically do not spend anywhere close to a team like the Eagles in year-to-year cash. Sure, the cap hits and the overall cap numbers are going to be in the same ballpark because you have to be within 10% of the salary cap floor, but teams don't operate the same. Like the Eagles, like Jeffrey Lurie is like Howie, just Call me when I need to write a check. Whereas the Bengals are like, we only have $130 million of cash flow we're willing to do this offseason. So it really just depends on how you structure the contracts. Do you want to add void years? Do you want to do the big signing bonuses? So, it's a complicated way of saying it really just depends on the team and the owner. All right, check out the Bears draft hats this year. They're pretty sweet. Chatsports.com/Bears draft hats is the link to go to click and shop today. That link is in the comments and description of this video. Go check it out right now. Chatsports.com/Bears draft hats. Link in the comments, link in the description of this video to get one today. Tons of different styles available. Go check them out. Our good friend Lakura. Yes, our good friend Lakura. I didn't even read that before I said that. That is hilarious. I would draft – Colin is cracking up right now. I would draft Jayden Higgins if passing on Keenan, draft Jeanty at 10, and get that wide receiver depth maxed out. I took Jayden Higgins last week in our mock in the second round, which was received mostly negatively, but hey, it's all good. I like him a lot. 6'4", 215, runs well, good routes. I understand it'd be a bit of a luxury pick, but I think he's a fringe round one guy. So if you get him in the second round, I think that's pretty good value. Jeanty and Higgins with your first two picks, talk about adding juice to your offense. Dark Cobra, our good friend, Dark Cobra, who's your number one breakout player on the Bears? I hope it's Caleb Williams. Like, if he breaks out this year, this team's going to be in a good spot. So I hope it's him. Obviously, Rome Odunze is another guy I would mention. Tyreek is a guy I'm hoping for. Maybe bounce back's the better word for him. Those are a few off the top of my head. We'll probably do a breakout candidate segment at some point this offseason when things slow down. But, all eyes on Caleb Williams to break out in 2025. If you hate the Packers like I do, and most of you do as well, get the FGBs going in the chat. You know the motto, FGB. 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 All right, Rich Ewald, what running back would you take at 71, at 72? But I hear you, if we address other needs with the first three picks. I have to know who's available, but I would take Cam Scadaboo there. I think in the third round, he's worth it. Devin Neal is a guy I like at 72. Maybe RJ Harvey. He's got some juice as well. I think it's probably a tick early for Ollie Gordon, but him and Damian Martinez are guys in kind of that next tier I like. Taj Brooks is a sneaky guy I like. Maybe DJ Giddens, although I didn't love the vibe of him at the Big 12 Pro Day. Maybe he was just having an off day. I'm not sure. You're kind of getting into that next tier of back. You could still find starters there, but I do think there's a dip, assuming like Quinshad Judkins and obviously Caleb Johnson are gone. I guess if Travion Henderson fell to 72, I'd consider it, although I just don't think him and DeAndre Swift's skill sets mesh that well. Mike Nintendo Master, I've heard about players in the first. I thought we'd talk about some players who've taken round two at 39 or 41. I did a video about a month ago of round two draft targets, but I could probably run that back and kind of give an updated outlook in that range. I like a lot of the defensive linemen there. Like there's edge rushers, there's defensive tackles, the two Ohio State guys, Tui Moloau and Jack Sawyer. I think you could look at does a Derek Harmon fall into that range? Could you take who am I missing at edge? Landon Jackson could be another player in that range as well. TJ Sanders. There's a lot of guys on the defensive line. Maybe some O-linemen there as well. Someone earlier mentioned Josh Conerly. Aireontae Ersery is a guy that could certainly fit that mold. Would Gray Zabel fall? I doubt it. I think he goes round one. But there's a group of trenches players in that chunk that I like where I'd almost be kind of surprised if they keep those two picks if they didn't use one of them on an offensive or defensive line, of course, depending on what they do at 10. All right, appreciate all the questions, and if you didn't get yours answered or if you have more, you know where to find me, at HGramNFL, Twitter, Instagram. That is the handle. If you want to hit me up on social media, you can do so. Be sure to bear down, as always.